Worker Rights 101. Hopefully, yeah. It's a long one, so the idea is that because there is a lot of content in the slides, you don't have to look into it. Eventually, you would see like the slides, we are going to share it anyway. I will give like an overview. There is a lot of content, so you can later read them, but I would give like an overview of what is there, and of course like share what is there, but just like disclaimer. Another disclaimer, this is not a legal advice. If you have any advice you would like to take, please reach for a lawyer. This is just general information about worker rights in Germany. This is very important. I'm not a lawyer. So a worker is someone who is a developer, software engineer, coder, programmer, code ninja, code monkey, hacker, 10x developer. All of these are workers. So please don't be like illusioned by the title. Like we are at the end of the day, we are just selling our time to get money. Engineering manager, human resource, people manager, happiness manager, DI manager, director, CEO, CFO, any of these C-level things, all of these are not workers. A worker is someone at the end of the day represents the interest of the workers, not the company. So we are yeah. Okay, important thing to know in the session. We need to differentiate between two things, worker rights and benefits. Sometimes when you get like a job opportunity and so on, they always like, say you get this, you get vacation, you get health insurance, pension, notice period, parental leave, sick leave, education, and all of this. It's important to know what is the difference between what is legally your right and what they are advertising as benefit. Legal rights, it's all companies would give it to you. A benefit is something, the company is offering to you as an extra. So, what is on the left? These are rights. And the other side is benefits. So minimum wage of 13 euro per hour, 4 weeks of vacation, health and pension insurance, occupational insurance. Occupational insurance, this is an insurance if you got like any problems at work, like you get, for example, like hurt or an accident and so on. Notice period, this is your right. Parental leave, sick leave, work council, educational leave, part-time. All of these are your legal rights. These are not like offered as an extra. The other side, severance package, Christmas bonus, remote work, profit sharing, stock option, pay increase, overtime premium, training, platforms like, for example, they offer you Coursera, Udemy, and so on. All of these, yes, they are benefits. Although we would come later at something called work council, which could offer you this legally inside your company to become your right, instead of becoming a benefit that they could take later. So, a little bit of brief history for your like worker struggles in Germany. So at the first, like when people were like workers and so on, they started like something called the guilds. So people who are working in the same professions, they would gather together and create something sort of a union. And later, after the 1848 revolution in Europe, there were like multiple protests and revolutions around Europe. They created the first unions. And before the creation, there was like the anti-socialist law by Otto von Bismarck. Yeah, he passed the anti-socialist law to basically prevent people from creating like unions, but people, of course, like stood their feet, stood their ground, and they created later at 1890. You don't have to take care of the dates, like it's just like to be aware of the sequence. Created like the first union, and later created like something called German Federation Union. This was during the Weimar Republic because Germany lost World War I and everything was destroyed, so they needed to create a union there. And then the Nazis came, destroyed everything. And later, after everything ended, today we have something called Deutsche Gewerkschaftsbund, DGB. This is basically the head of all unions that exist in Germany. The idea why I'm saying all of this is that unions are the things that provided all of the benefits that we had previously mentioned. Like all of this didn't came out of the blue. It is not like the government say, hey, take this. No, it's actually people who fight for these rights to take it. So it's important to be aware that this wasn't given by like out of their mercy or something. Okay, was for Germany or Germans. This is also for migrants, because migrants workers also had some struggles here. So first, I think most of us are aware of something called the Gastarbeiter or guest workers that came in the 50s, mostly like of Turkish background, but also like from Greece, Italy, and other countries. And then there was the Ausländergesetz in 65. This is the law that determines how we can stay in the country. But unions weren't interested in migrant workers, and they actually were hostile to them because they saw migrants were just like cheap labor at the end. And there was like two-tier system that exists, and people didn't have much rights. So workers were just like, yeah, replaceable. And that's why there was something called wildcat strikes in the 1973. And there was like Turkish workers started protesting and demonstrating and going on strikes. And the two main ones were Pierberg and Ford. These were two main strikes that existed for migrant workers. These are like the two main ones. And of course, for the slides, there are links for these slides, so you can read more about them. During the strikes, IG Metall and DGB, they were against these strikes. Bild, of course, did a smear campaign against them, but luckily at the end, at Pierberg they won, but at Ford they failed. And yeah, there were counter demonstrations that used like armed force against them and police. Yeah, important to mention, wildcat strikes are actually illegal in Germany, and only unions can approve these strikes. Okay, and there is the Residence Act in 2005. This is what currently we have, which have like the two-tier system, permanent residency and temporary residency that already exist in Germany. Permanent residency, I think most of us know, and temporary residency is like the different things like blue card and so on. This is the current law, if you just out of interest would like to read about it. And this is, yes, this is correct. This is West German. I'm not sure, like I'm not very aware about the East German part, so to be also like put full perspective. But I think the article mentions it. Yeah, and this is a picture for Turkish workers who were doing a strike back then in Ford. Yeah. So the idea is no one will save us but ourselves. Okay, why migrants need to be concerned, why this is important to be aware of our rights. So first thing, migrants are more likely to be fired, you are less likely to be promoted, you have weak residency because once you are fired, you might lose your residency and get deported. There is language and cultural barrier, it's not speaking English, you have to speak German, which is a very hard language. And of course, daily racism and racial profiling. So yeah, this is important to be aware of, like why we need to be concerned. And of course, there is the rise of far-right policies in Germany across all political parties and taxation without representation. So it's important that people fight for their rights and equality. Okay, so first thing first, these are the things that you should be aware of. We'll start like saying what exists in like contract, what is your rights, and what is your law. So just be aware of, like, we will just like go through them quickly. So we have time for questions. I'm going too fast? Okay, okay. So when you are getting your contract, always check like a good thing, like more rights is valid, less is illegal. So if you see something that doesn't match the legal statements, this means that it is illegal contract. It is not legal in this case. So always check the German version. English version is not valid. Check your salary, payment date, like when you will get your payment, it usually like after 3 days of the start of the month, you get like the previous month. Most of the companies, they give you at the end of the month. If they just like do like after later, it's a problem. You also mention where is the place of your work, vacations, how you get not less than the minimum that you have to get, like the legal one, which is 4 weeks. More is better. And of course, like determining your work time. And probation and notice periods, and NDA clause and post-termination clause. So NDA clause is in case like you were like fired or resigned, and there are things that you shouldn't discuss with competitors or opponents. So sometimes it could be just like limiting for you to get even like other options to work in other companies in the same field. And stock options and its maturity. So sometimes you get like stock options. It also should mention like how's the maturity and how much you will get it at the end. And important thing, everything needs to be written. Don't take promises, don't take shake hands, nothing. All of this doesn't work. Everything needs to be written to the word. And sometimes they could play like with a word to make it like, yeah, it is possible. Yeah, it may be. So if it's maybe, then it's maybe. It is not like, oh, they would give it to me. So this is important to be aware of. Your rights while you are working. So work time is basically like defined under Arbeitszeitgesetz. This is like the Work Time Act. And you get 4 weeks of minimum vacation. I also try to read like the law, like everywhere, it always mentions that average time, average work time is 8 hours, maximum for 6 days, but it's always 8 hours. Like you don't work any more than 8 hours. If it's more, like it could be like some days more, some days different, but at the end of the day, it would say like, for example, like every 4 months, the average should be 8 hours. So it's always 8 hours. Also, like working on call is considered. So working on call, like some people would have like on call, like for example, support, for example, like scout services or any of these things. On call is work time. On call is standby, just like being a standby, you didn't receive any task, is not. This is not work time. Sometimes there is called like work agreement, and in this case it will be different. This is where we have like work councils. You have the right to have uninterrupted 11 hours of rest. And by the way, like when I put like these are the number of the law. So it is not what I'm saying, it's just like the law. So you can check them. And of course, like again, like in the slide, these are links. So you can go there and check the law itself. So it's important to be aware about like legal stuff, because it's good if you speak to your employer with legal statement, you tell them like, hey, this is the law and this is the number. It makes them okay. He knows their right, or she or them, they know their rights. It's not like someone who's just like getting angry or something. Yeah. And documentation of overtime. Like some people would, your employer would say, hey, you just like work. Or yeah, we have like flexible work time. No. It is actually like this law. It says overtime needs to be documented, which eventually would lead to documenting all your time. So it's important. So in case like you overtime, this would be, again, like there is this rule that says 8 hours per day. This is the maximum. So if you work like 10 hours in one day, next day you work 6 hours to average at the end of the day. So overtime is required to be recorded because some companies doesn't. Yeah. So part-time and temporary work. So part-time is also legalized under this law, Teilzeitbefristungsgesetz, like basically part-time and temporary work act. You have the right to work part-time. You also have the right to tell your employer like why you want to take part-time. You don't have to mention it to them. You can, like, if you have like these conditions, basically if you're employed for 6 months, like becoming a permanent employee, and your company have more than 15 employees, and you haven't applied for part-time for 2 years, you can immediately send to them, hey, I would like to work part-time. You don't have to mention the reason. You don't tell them like family or health or anything. You can just tell them, hey, I would like to take part-time. And if this condition exists, they are your legal right. It is not, hey, does it exist or not? No, if these conditions exist in your company, then you have the right to do it. Of course, the employer has the right to refuse for operational reasons. And yeah, another thing is that when you use this right, you don't have the like legal possibility to switch back to full-time. So if you use this right, you don't have the possibility to switch back to become full-time again. So if you want to switch, yeah, this is sorry, maybe it appears later. Okay. If you want to switch, there is a temporary part-time act. This is a focal tile site, and again, there is this law. You have the right to take part-time, so it is limited. You can say, I want to take part-time for 1 year, or 2 years, or 3 years. This is up to 5 years maximum. And this gives you the possibility to get back to full-time. Conditions for it are more strict. So again, you have to be like employed for 6 months, and the company needs to have at least 45 employees. But if it has less than 200, approval could be limited depending on how many employees that are already participating in this part-time. So like 200, it would be, I think, like 11 or something. I'm not sure about the numbers. Again, sorry about this part, but the law itself would say to you, like, if this number, this is the allowed part-time. If this number, this is the allowed part-time, people could participate. Yeah. Yeah.
How much part-time can we request? Like it's 4 days, or can we request 50%? Is there some percentage that you can request? Is there some
no,
rule?
this is, I don't know, like what would define like part-time.
Anything. Because if they can say, can I work 2 days per week for 6 months? And then...
You mean like the length itself?
Yes, because
So
I
the
work
length
40
is-
hours. Part-time is a portion of this 40 hours, but how much could be? I suppose I cannot ask 1 day per week, and I'm
No,
going to
you have to ask like between 1 year to 5 years. But there is something. There is something because regarding this question. So there is, you can talk, but this would be a benefit side. This is not like legal side. You can tell to your employer, hey, I would like to use my vacation days to reduce my working hours. So basically you can take half day, like on 2 different days. And in this case, you can reduce your working hours. This is an option. But if you would like to reduce it for like 1 week, no, this is not in the legal part. But
No, my question is if I can work 20 hours per week instead of 4.
okay, but you would.
Can I explain what it means? Full time, you work an average of 8 hours per week, per day. Part time, how many hours per day should you work?
This is I don't know. Okay, but okay. But this is a good question. Maybe yeah, we could ask it. Yeah. Okay. So another thing is your salary and compensation. Minimum salary in Germany is 12 euro 41 cent something, but I think most tech companies give like way more above this. But just to be aware, if you have like a friend who is working like for 8 euros or something, this is illegal. You have also the right to discuss your salary details with anyone. There is nothing that tells you don't tell your salary to anyone. Even if the contract says so, don't discuss it. This is illegal. No, you can have the right to discuss your salary details with anyone. And you also, if your company has more than 200 employees, you could ask for the average salary for the opposite sex, which means you could have solidarity as well. Like, so basically, like every sex would ask for the average salary of the other. In this case, you would know the average salary of the company. This, what I'm saying, is basically legalized under the Transparency Wage Act. This long thing. But basically, it defines like how to ask and what are the like the details to ask these things, and they are defined between the laws like 10 and 16. And this is basically a law that passed in 2017 to push for more equal pay among workers. So basically, like people from the opposite sex, they should have the equal pay. So this law was passed for this. But it also could help workers to be aware of like salaries that exist in the company. So everyone would know, everyone would know like who is basically making money and so on, or how much. Okay, education leave. This is called Bildungsurlaubsgesetz, or this is under the Bildungsurlaubsgesetz. This is legal right also. You could ask your employer to get up to 5 days of paid leave for education. And there, and in Berlin, only in Berlin, you can, not only in Berlin, but in Berlin, the case in Berlin, like every 2 years, you can take 10 days combined, not like 5 and 5, but 2 days combined. And you can take it for language courses, political education, and different courses. List of all of these courses in this website, Bildungsurlaub, and this is again, it's a link. So you would find all the courses there, and this is your right to take it. The only states that don't have it is Bavaria and Saxony. So yeah, so Bavaria doesn't beat us in vacation days. We also beat them. Maybe, I think in the end, sorry. So, okay. So yeah, please take it. I didn't know about it. I lived for a long time here and did it and wasted like many vacation days I could take for education. And regarding the Votech board, you could also like take it to learn about your like union stuff if you are interested. So it's good as well to be aware of it. So yeah, later you can create a work council, and we'll get to the work council later. Okay, surveillance. So yeah, your employer can surveil you, and most of us know about it, the name PIP, which like performance improvement plan, which basically could lead at the end of the day to be laid off, possibly, because they just like want to find, oh, you are not working enough, you are not doing everything, so we would like to push you out. But if you have something called the work council, they can fight against the surveillance and could try to get around it. There is this law that basically defines like business surveillance part, but also there has to be balance between just to improve performance. Of course, they don't say the word surveillance, but yeah, it is. But they try to balance between it and like personal privacy as well.
Yeah, so I'm curious which extent, for instance, like screen recording or key logging is allowed, or how is the limit of this surveillance?
So I don't know exactly how would be the limit, but at least they should tell you. It shouldn't be without your consent, because it would be against like GDPR, I think. Yeah. If secret, it's a different. But of course, they could have like metrics that are not secrets that you just like accept. You know, like terms and conditions. Okay. So yeah, this would be so basic surveillance is a problem. Okay, this is a big part. Dismissal, because we have like a lot of layoffs that happening in tech. Yeah, so we will talk about dismissal, like this is being laid off. Resignation would come at a later point, but this is like in the case you being fired. So if you're if this happened before probation, you only have a notice period of 2 weeks. They don't have a reason to terminate you. They can fire you, and work council cannot object to it. And they can fire you even during pregnancy or holidays. So basically, like in probation, it's like open season. They can fire and do whatever they want. But after probation, there is a legal limit of 4 weeks to have notice period. It can be different. Most of us, I think, like 3 months usually in tech, but 4 weeks is basically like the legal limit. And the notice period can increase if you stay longer in your company, and this is also the law that defines how long you can like basically increase depending on how long you stayed. And if you have a work council, employers need to ask. So this is important to have the work council in this work. And there are 3 reasons to terminate personal behavior operational. I will say like every one of them in the next slide. But all of these reasons, they are defined under the Dismissal Protection Act. This is a big law that you would read if you get fired, because you would know the reasons and get into like the definition. So 3 reasons: personal behavior operation. So personal is that you yourself do a lot of basic like performance issues. You do problems. You are basically like always having problems with your company, arguing and so on. By the way, like this is what they define. So it's important to be aware of this part. And of course, like stealing and all of these things. Behavioral is basically like if you did like violation like for work policy, like you, I don't know, like if they have like some dress code and you didn't align with it. And of course, like if you are sick too long, like it's like a problematic one. That's like, but I think this would be very rare. And operational, this is most of us would happen. Like most of us is just like economic reason, downsizing, economy is bad, and so on. This is the majority of us, which is operational. There is a law that defines severance pay. Actually, it is this law like 1A, but this have like certain conditions. Like you didn't file a lawsuit against the termination. You weren't laid off for like you were laid off for operational reasons. And employer tell you have severance pay, and it tells like half a month for 1 year. But this is for this case, not everything. It's only for this case. Important thing: dismissal is only valid if it's written and signed and sent to you, and you have received it. If nothing of these 4 conditions didn't happen, dismissal is not valid. So if they send it like with email or message, it's not valid. And this is the law that says electronic transfer is not valid for dismissal. It's only have to be like paper, and you have to receive it as well by your hand. So if your employer says, "Hey, you're fired," next day go to work normally. Don't not work. You have to receive like a paper that says you are fired. Two important dates when someone is fired: 3 weeks and 3 days. So you have 3 weeks to file a lawsuit against your employer to say like this dismissal was invalid, and you have 3 days to inform something called the Agentur für Arbeit, and this basically gives you the unemployment benefit, help you to find job, and we'll get to this point later. But these are two important days to be aware of: 3 weeks and 3 days. So if you want to file a lawsuit, you have 3 weeks. In case of dismissal, they might give you something called Aufhebungsvertrag. This is like mutual agreement. You have the right to refuse to sign it. Like to say, no, I don't want to sign it, because they sometimes will try to push you, hey, sign it. Like, I might do it like friendly way and don't tell you like your legal right. You have the right to actually fight it, to file a lawsuit against it. So in case you find like you were like dismissed for socially justified reason. Because, for example, like what is a justified reason? Like, for example, if you are the youngest, the healthiest in the whole company, yeah, this might be a justified reason. But if you are someone who has like 2 kids, and there is someone in the company who is younger than you, this is not socially justified. They are the one who has priority to be fired, and then you would be fired. This is like the sequence. There is something called like determined by like your health, your mature situation, if you are married or not, and how many kids you have or how many dependents, and how long you are staying in the company. But at least the first 3 ones are the more important one, because you would be aware, like if someone is younger than you would be aware to use it like in the legal, so to say, hey, there is someone actually which is younger than me, and they weren't fired and I was fired. So it would help in the legal case, because the company wouldn't give it to you. So it's important to be aware of this part. Okay. If you sign this Aufhebungsvertrag, like this mutual agreement, it's not always, but you might lose 3 months of your unemployment benefits, which is, of course, like it's a big deal. And the Agentur für Arbeit will ask you, and they will know it from the employer. So no way to hide this information. The decision for you to sign it or not, it would depend on your situation, because sometime when they give you the Aufhebungsvertrag, they would tell you, like for example, you would get, I don't know, like 3 months or 4 months, like for example, like you would get 8,000 or 10,000. It might be less than the 3 months that you would get from the unemployment agents, like the Agentur für Arbeit. So it's important to be aware of all of this. So it's important to be aware of like this, like to decide like if you want to sign it or not, like depending on like the amount you would get paid. So it might be less. But of course, like if you fight it, you would get you might get both. We will get to like how to fight it legally now. So it's important to get legal insurance. Highly advised to get it. It's quite expensive to do it out of pocket, like it's very expensive. But you can know like how much fees you would pay using this RVG thing. It has like this law gives you like how much you would pay depending on how much your salary. It basically like matches to your salary. And it would tell you like how much fees. So it's not like the lawyer wouldn't say, hey, you have to pay like this out of their head. No, it's calculated based on a table. But highly recommend to take a legal insurance. It is not expensive, and it helps like during this case. If you cannot afford the fees, there is something called process cost help. This would cover your fees. Important thing also, in labor law, each party pays their fees. It is not like the civil court. So in labor court, each party would pay their fees. So you don't have to pay everything, except in case of an appeal. So what would happen? In case you get like a verdict from the judge, and then we get into this process. But if the judge says the final statement and the company still want to fire you, there is an appeal they could file. And in case you lost, you have to pay like for everything. So the loser would pay for both sides. So that's why I highly recommend to take a legal insurance. It is worth it. And of course, yeah, what we said, like the legal process, just to know like socially it is valid or not. Okay, the legal sequence in case you took like this legal procedure. So first, of course, you will discuss it with a lawyer, and then if it's like you have like a good strength of winning, you would file a lawsuit against your employer. And again, you have 3 weeks to file these lawsuits. So I know it's crazy. Like when you are fired, you would need to spend some time to figure out your life, and because it's like a big slap in the face. But also you would have to find a lawyer in your area, mostly speaks English. So you have to like focus that time could pass by very quickly while you are searching for a lawyer, because you only have 3 weeks that the lawyer files a lawsuit, not 3 weeks until you find a lawyer. It's 3 weeks until the lawyer have time to send the request. But it's easy because they send it with fax. So it'll be fast. I'm not joking, it's sent with fax. Okay. And after the request is being sent to the court, there will be an initial court hearing where like they will try to reach a resolution between you and the employer. In case of failure, there would be a trial, and this would be in front of a judge. And if you still insist on doing it, because for example you have like kids, family, and you feel no, I was dismissed illegally, in this case the judge would give like a final verdict. Either you win or they would win. And if you win, you would take the salary of all the time since you were fired until the verdict. So it is not lost all of the salary. And usually it might take like 5-6 months until you have like to reach this judge hearing. Yeah, like 6, even 7 months sometimes. So you would take like all the salary of all of this time. But the problem is appeal is possible. That's why take a legal insurance. You will always say it. And regarding legal insurance, it always become active after 3 months of registering for it. It doesn't activate immediately. It always takes like 3 months and then activates later. So it's important to be aware that, oh, I will fire today, I will get an insurance tomorrow. No, it doesn't work like this. You have to take an insurance first, 3 months, and then if you are fired. No. Yeah. Good thing also if you file as a group. If you could coordinate like with your other colleagues who were laid off, you could create like a big case in this case and put like more pressure on the employer. Basically it helps like if you would like to take a severance package to end all of this, if you want to, or if you feel no, I was fired illegally, I want to get back to work. Yeah, this is different from resignation. Yeah, resignation, I think like most of us are a little bit aware of this. So basically, yeah, you just like stop working. You might be required to work in the notice period. Unlike when you're being dismissed, sometimes they don't let you work. So they would give it as a benefit, but actually it is your right. It is your right to take the 3 months notice period or the 1 month notice period. It is not like a benefit, because they sometimes give it into the Aufhebungsvertrag, like the mutual agreement, that it is a benefit so you can leave us. No, the notice period is your right. What is above than this 3 months? Yeah, this is like the severance package. What is less is not a severance package. So in case of resignation, you might need to work in the notice period. Your unemployment benefit would be reduced by 3 months, because you resigned for by yourself. But if you resign for medical reasons, you might not lose these 3 months. Medical reasons could be, yeah, maybe before this part, yeah. So basically, like you wouldn't lose these 3 months. So if you have like medical reasons to resign, it is better to like basically go to your house arts, discuss it, and tell them like I have some medical reasons, I have like this problem and so on. So in this case, you would take like a medical leave instead of resigning. So it is not like, oh, I don't no longer work because I am tired physically, I want to resign. No. Instead of this, go to your house arts, discuss it. And in this case, you would be covered for the first 6 weeks of your illness, like mostly, depending on your insurance. And later you will cover to up to 78 weeks. So the first 6 weeks, you would take all your salary. The other 78 weeks, you would take like a percentage of it. So it would be a little less. Mental health issues and burnout, of course, like they are common among tech workers. So it is one of the reasons, actually. It is not like, oh, I have burnout, so I am lazy or something. No, burnout is a medical condition, and you can take a medical leave because of it. So don't resign, go to your house arts, and tells them about it. Important thing, your employer doesn't have the right to know the reason. So you don't go to your employer, hey, I have a burnout. In this case, it becomes like one of the reasons to maybe fire you. So don't do it. Your employer doesn't have the right to know like what is your medical condition, and health insurance doesn't communicate it with them. So yeah, took your house arts. Okay, maybe we can take like a round of questions. Anyone have questions? Okay.
Yeah, I just want to know about the workers' council. Like, I worked for one company just the beginning when I moved to Berlin, and there was already a workers' council. Now I worked for a company when I started 2 years ago. It was 100 people. Now it's about 300, but we are all remote. I mean, we have the offices. A few people go. It's not mandatory. How could I form a workers' council? Like, or because we are so dispersed and spread. So do you have some advice on this?
So work council, it's a big point, and I will cover it. Like it would be a little bit later. But to answer this question, because it's remote, like with remote, you have to do it like in your area. It is not like everywhere, as far as I know. Yeah. Yes, it is 5 full-time employees. But yeah, we'll get to the point of the work council. It's a big point, and it's one of the important things actually in the slides. Yeah, let's go to raise this one. Any other questions? Okay, let's continue. So yeah, so we covered like the dismissal and resignation. When you become unemployment, like there is the unemployment benefit, there is 2 things, like the SGB 3, and there is I think like 1 and 2, or 1. This is like basically how we say it, like ALG1 and ALG2, like the one which you get like if you were fired, and this is like unemployment benefit, and there is the job center, which is like Burger Guild and so on. But what we are focused on is the unemployment benefit, which you get like if you were fired or resigned. This you get from the Agentur für Arbeit, not the job center, because some people would go to the job center and think this is how you apply for it. This is, you do it like by going to the Agentur für Arbeit. You can apply for it online or in person. The website is super easy actually. It is not hard. Like it's just like you create an account and you fill some forms. They would give you like a confirmation, hey, your account is activated. If there's some problems, you can go to their office. Problem is they speak only German. It is very rare to find like someone who speaks English there. So it's important to learn some German, but I know it's quite hard. But yeah, so you can apply it again. You can apply it for it online because it becomes easier, and you can send them messages, letters if you want to. For the unemployment benefit, you are entitled to unemployment benefit if you have been working in the last 13 months. You have been working 12 months. You get this amount of money. You don't have to go to the details. Like at the end of the day, there is a calculator. Like you can forget all of this. Calculator is there. You can just like enter how much money you are making, and it would give you the details. Because it depends if you have children, if you don't have children, if you are married, if you are not married, like your class, tax class, and so on. So there is a lot of details. So a calculator is much easier to do. But if you are interested about like the amount, it's 60% and 67% if you have children. And there is a maximum amount also. Like if you are making 100,000 of euro, no, you wouldn't take like 60,000 of euro. No, it's usually it'll be less. There is like a legal limit for it. Yeah, it's average. Yeah. And there is also a limit, like how much you will get, like the length of it. It's usually half the amount you have worked. So if you work for 2 years, you will get 12 months. If you worked for 6 months, you would get 3 months. There is like some conditions that you get like less if you're working less even. But the maximum is 12 months, and it increases by old age. So if you're older, you can get like more than 12 months, like 2 years of unemployment benefits. Okay. For if you would like to do like some work while you are being unemployment, you can do some side jobs as well. You have the maximum to do 165 euro per month. This is the maximum, and if you make more than this, it would reduce your benefit. So if you made like 200, it would reduce the amount of benefit you are making. But you can ask your agent to pause the benefit for maybe 1 month or 1 week. And in this case, it wouldn't reduce your benefit. You can tell them, hey, I would like to pause my benefit for 1 month. And during this 1 month, you can do whatever you want. You earn the amount of money, but of course you have to pay your health insurance and pensions if you want to, but health insurance you have to pay. But you can pause. So it's if you would like to do freelancing, like mixing freelancing and unemployment, it's better to pause instead of like just earning directly. And there is something, it's called Gründungszuschuss, or startup grant, easier. And this if you would like to switch from unemployed to self-employed. And it's a really good thing. But it depends on your agent, how friendly they are, how they trust you. And basically what happens is that they switch the money that you get. Like for example, you get 2,000 euro unemployed. They switch, they give you the 2,000 euro plus extra 300. This is to support you for 6 months. This could be up to 6 months. This is like the first phase. Second phase would be 300 only for 9 months. This is like called the startup grant. The good thing, it doesn't increase your income tax. So there is two differentiation. If you get like unemployment benefit, it actually affects your income tax. It increases your bracket tax to a certain level. But taking a startup grant doesn't affect your income tax. You just like take it and it's like basically free money. And I went to the income tax declaration form, and it doesn't have a field for the Grundschuss. So if you can apply for it, it's really good. But the downside, you have to pay for your own health insurance and pension fees, like unlike being unemployed. But good thing as well, if you did like any like freelancing work during this time, you now can take it. You don't have to pause and so on and wait. So you may be like switching at first, like pausing, trying freelancing. If you would like eventually to take like full freelance, you can switch. You have to prepare like a business plan and financial plan. It's just like few statement about what you would like to start. If you would like to start a tech company, a tech agency, and so on, and you send it. And if the agent there, in like your agent at the unemployment agency, like Agentur für Arbeit, if they trust and they like you, they will tell you, yeah, it's fine. It's a little bit of a legal, like a lot of documents. Like I did it, and it's it takes some time because you have to prepare like the financial statement and the business plan. Financial plan and business plan, and send them to someone to approve it. Like to have to find like some person like who is like someone who is specialist about this topic, and they approve it. You pay them some fee, and they send, yeah, like if they found like everything is good, checked out, they would sign it, and also they would give a document that tells, okay, this is a solid business plan. And you take all of this, send it back to the Agentur für Arbeit. And if they approve it, they can give it to you. Also important to note, you don't have legal entitlement to take it. Like there is no legal right that they approve it. Yeah, you can apply, but they can say no. You don't have to get it. Okay, so work council. I think this is a big topic now. So what we have seen, like all of the past things that we have said, is quite complicated. It's quite problematic. A lot of things, and there is some problems that you have to fight by your own with your employer. And instead of fighting on your own, you can create a work council. What is a work council? Work council, you can think of it like it's a mini union in your workplace. It's someone who would fight for your rights. It's not like your HR or like happiness manager or any of these stuff. No, it's actually someone elected by you, and you like it helps you to fight for your rights in your work. To create a work council, you just need to have like 5 employees who are eligible to vote. Eligible to vote is just like being a permanent employee. You are already working in the company, but you have to have 5 people to be eligible to vote, and 3 of them would be elected at least. And there is like numbers, like there is a ratio between how much people are working and how many members of the work council. So it's a little bit of a big topic, and I will get to another point as well regarding this part. Also, starting a work council gives you like special dismissal protection. So if you just start a work council, you cannot be fired, at least for the 6 months. And there is this law that defines like the special protection. And if you are elected for a work council, like you become a member, you cannot be fired for 1 year. And if they want to fire you, they have to go to the labor court. So yeah, it gives you like more benefit. If you would like more things about how to start work council, I highly advise to reach out to Berlin Tech Worker Coalition. Yeah, they are helped a lot of people to create like work councils in the tech sector in Berlin. Like they are quite helpful, and they like would help a lot about the process and all of this. And if you are also a union member, it would help you also to get like more support as well. Like there are two big unions who are, so regarding the unions, because I forgot about this slide. So unions in Germany are divided like based in sector. So there is Verdi. Verdi works for the service sector. IG Metall, they work for industries like like cars, electronics, and so on. And there are different unions as well that work for different services, like food services. There is a police union, but there are different unions that exist in Germany. All of them under the DGB, which is like the like an institution for all of these unions, like collecting all of them. But because tech is a little bit of a sector or interesting sector, because we could work in service industries like deliveries, logistics, food, and so on, and we also can work in automobile things like cars, electronics, manufacturing, and so on. So we have like Verdi and we have IG Metall. Like these are the two unions that you could join as well. And the fees for it, like it's 1% of your gross salary, and it is tax deductible as well. Yeah, okay.
If you're in probation period and start work council, can you escape probation period or?
No.
No? Okay.
But that's a good trick.
I thought I could. Okay.
Yeah, that's a good trick. Yeah. Okay. By the way, like something important to know, like you don't go to the company and tell your manager, hey, I would like to start our council. It's not a very good idea to do at all. Okay. So like starting our council, there is a like basically a process to do it, like talking to employees, people are interested and so on. Because if you tell your manager, hey, let's put an eye on this guy. So yeah, don't go to your manager, hey, could I start our council? It doesn't work like this. So yeah. No, like I mean.
Just to fill that in, I guess. Yeah, ideally you want to be a unbefristet person. Otherwise, they can kind of be clever and just not renew your contract. And that's actually a valid reason to let someone go on the Works Council because it's an operational reason. So you need to be very careful if you're on the Works Council about your contract and how you what your contract is going into starting the Works Council as well. Because as soon as you start that, most employers are going to know that you're potentially problematic for them, and you want to be very careful about how public you are about that. And make sure you have a good team behind you before you start that. Yeah. Also, I would just say the difference between Verdi and IG Metall. Verdi does all the like software and like software service stuff, and IG Metall is more hardware. So if you want to think about tech being divided between those two, that's typically how they would group you. But it's really just up to whoever the union members are in your workplace as well. So if there's more Verdi members, maybe it makes sense to join Verdi or vice versa.
So what will be the advantage for me to join a union if my company don't yet have a worker council? If there are any.
So I'd say that the works councils are just the one part of the step to getting a union, but you typically want to be a union member as you went into the works council process. One thing that unions do is collectively negotiate, and works councils can't collectively negotiate over wages. They can only react to changes that are put in place by the employer. So for instance, if the employer wanted to change the pay scheme, then they could negotiate over that, but only unions could proactively, collectively negotiate over wages directly. Also, one thing about unions is that they do provide legal insurance for workplace-related issues after 3 months. So the typical process I would suggest is join the union, wait 3 months, make sure you're on a good contract, have your legal protection, be very hard to fire, find a nice group of people who are also in a similar situation, start a works council, get a lot of extra protections, and then you're positioned in a really good place to start having conversations more directly with your colleagues about starting a union so that you can get more rights and more benefits, et cetera, through that process.
Yeah. The suggested process. So don't tell your engineering manager, please. So basically the whole idea of we're starting our council is basically collective solidarity instead of like self-survivalism. So instead of like thinking for saving yourself, no, like people should think of how we can save each other, and we have collective solidarity. So we have something that is more sustainable and long-term instead of just like escaping. So some of the benefits of having our council is, of course, like they can see like a lot of stuff that you as an employee cannot see. So they can be part of the supervisory board of the company. They ensure like everyone is treated fairly, because also they can see also the finances of the company and balance sheet. So they can see like if someone is being paid more than the other, or there is like gender gap or like a sex gap between like people who are being paid. So they would knew about these stuff, and they of course like they can approve or reject like company policies. They can approve and reject like layoffs. They can negotiate with the employer for better and safer conditions. So instead of like going to your HR and like please give it to me and so on, like starting our council, it gives you like better standing ground, because you all as employees, you have better strengths than going to an HR, because again, like HR cares only about protecting the company, not you. So the point of like work council also, what they can't do, they cannot do bargaining for collective agreement. Like basically this is the union's part. So basically like negotiating to increase salaries, holidays, work hours, all of this is where the unions have the power to do it. And also the union has the power to initiate a strike as well if it's needed to. And there is like a very hard process for it. So strike is not like something easy. Like when you hear like strike for BVG, it is not like they come into your mind like, hey, let's do a strike. It is not. It is not like this. There is a process for it. So it's not like easy. Like it's not like France, for example. Like I think France has like better ways for it. But also you can think of union as you becoming to have a political power as well. Because again, we have taxation without representation. We are paying taxes, but we are not represented. But being part of a union gives you some political power as well, because unions are democratically elected inside. So yeah, it's a good thing as well. Final remarks. So basically like for discrimination and racism, in Germany there is this law for General Equal Treatment Act, and basically cannot be discriminated against for sex, ethnic origin, gender, religion, disability, age, sexual orientation, and a lot of stuff, of course. All of this is prohibited. So you cannot be discriminated against. Like there is no this again like two-tier system or any of these. So yeah, like you are equal, or should be. Okay, and if there is a discrimination, like for example, you have a work council and they can see like there is a discrimination, you can file like a lawsuit against the discrimination part of this. And of course you don't say to your HR again like, hey, there is a discrimination. They don't care about this part. And there is Germany's discrimination handbook. So you can, but you know, like you are being employed and go to file a lawsuit against your company for being discriminated to, it just like put some eyes, you know. Like you would be protected. Like I'm saying, you can be protected. Like there is the law. Like I'm not sure like about the law, but like you would be protected. But this is like what to say, like the theoretical part. Like for example, when we said like there is a Wage Transparency Act, where you have the right to know about salaries. Actually, not many people use it. Like although like it's a legal right, not many people use it because they are afraid if I use it, it will just like put more eyes on me. Unlike if you have a council, you can just go, hey, we want to know how much people are being paid. You don't even get the average. You get like people's salary, so it's more detailed. Yeah.
Typically, also, if you have a workers' council, they would be like the first point of reception for any discrimination complaint. That's not the employer. So you have someone who's a bit more separate from the employer interests, who would actually represent your concerns. And they have like these consultation hours that people would very regularly do this as part of. And you can also file complaints and various other forms through that.
Yeah. So there is Germany's discrimination handbook. You can read like it gives like a lot of details regarding discrimination, and there is of course like a link for it. And if you also like get like racial profiling by the police in Germany, there is also COP Berlin. You can report it to it. Like this basically like for racism by the German police. Also other links, so if you need like labor or social law counseling, there are two organizations, Fair Integration. This is across Germany and I used it. It's good as well. And there is PIMA as well. This is in Berlin. So in case you need to ask questions, labor stuff and so on. Also, final thing, I recommend to read this paper. It is like labor struggle and digital capitalism, and this paper also like gives some details about Amazon surveillance of people who like deliver things. So it's important to be aware of what we are being affected by, and also how the technology that we build also affect other people. Yeah, and that's all. So we have like links, Substack, YouTube. Thank you. So if you would like to receive the slides, please join our Substack. Recording, of course, would be on YouTube, so you can share it around, tell it your friend. More of us, when they knew stuff, we become stronger. And there is a website, but it would have like documentation, everything. So yeah, join Substack, and please, if you are interested, you can join our Orga meeting, and we'll post it about it in our newsletter and Telegram channel. Thank you. If you have any questions.
Quick practical question. Is this a Telegram channel just for announcements, or is there a space for discussions and questions?
This is announcement only. No, we didn't so far about the discussion part. But yeah, it's interesting to ask.
Okay, it would be interesting. Yeah, as a suggestion. A question is it like, for instance, in case if a person has kids, because if they are fired, they have some kind of protection. What if the person has to support, for instance, the family in their home country financially? Do you know if there's some protection, or because you know it's like it can be like kids, like you have to send a good amount of her salary to support the relatives in the global south?
You need to prove that you're supporting them for at least 6 months in the last 12 months. I think you will get a similar protection.
Okay.
But there needs to be proof of transfers periodically.
Yes, I do this for years. Okay.
I don't know about if you are just without works council, without union. But if you have works council, if in cases of mass layoffs, there's what they call like a Sozialplan, and they will have layoffs and the compensation or severance pay based on different categories that you might fall into. So if you have like migration status, gender, parent, etc., these would be categories that the Works Council would negotiate the severance based on. So you would maybe get more under that, but it wouldn't be specific. I don't know if it would be specific to like if you were supporting your family back home per se. And I also wanted to answer your question earlier about the remote work and organizing the Works Council. Yeah, it's wherever the Betrieb is. So if it's based in Berlin and all the remote workers are working at that office under that purpose, they would be included in the Betrieb. So that would be the group of people that you could form a Works Council with. Does that make sense? Okay.
I think they grew too fast, and I'm just questioning myself. Like there are cases that I asked something for workers' council, but you are too spread. Like I was told I could bring my dog, I cannot. So I engage the people.
Yeah.
I know some people. I could maybe think about doing it, but also I'm afraid like to have a retaliation. Suppose you start a workers' council, and people are aware. Like one guy tells.
Yeah.
I don't know. And then you are suspect before forming the works council.
Yeah, I would definitely only approach people you trust, and before you go public, I would have a solid group of people. At least my general rule of thumb is like 10% of the workforce. I would like to have who are supportive of me. If you're looking at like bare minimum, you'd want at least double the amount of people you need to actually sign the sheet to start the Works Council, which is six people. So that's the 3 people you need to sign the initial public declaration you want to start a Works Council, and 3 backups, so if anyone drops out.
Is there some place I can get information? You say there's the Berlin. I thought here it's just the Berlin tech workers. I saw the pipe.
Yeah.
Berlin.
Tech Workers Berlin is pretty good for basics, and then I think if you sign up for the union and you're really serious about it and you call them, they'll usually call you back, or at least email you back and give you some tips.
I think they have a website. It's not, so it's Migrant is different, and the Berlin tech.
Yeah, Berlin Tech Worker Coalition is different, but they are the one who would help, like if you want to start our council.
Yeah. Okay. We meet semi-regularly, semi-monthly, about that. And if you go on the website, there's like a bunch of just like basic steps. I would say that, as with any organizational building, it's a bit more complicated, and you'd probably want someone to like give you some advice about your individual situation. I think it's nice to sit down with someone and just kind of go through it together.
Berlin Tech Workers Coalition, like the chapter in Berlin, is now basically a machine to pump out Works Council from, your situation up to like we need to discuss specific things. So the know-how is very strong there. I think the Telegram group for your case works better than the general meeting. That is also it's more internal stuff. So yes, or I can also add. I know they want you to go through the website because techworkersber.org. I can give you the website, or it's in the slides. And there's also a conference coming up. I don't know if that's too early, but if there's the conference of Berlin Tech Workers Coalition for Works Council members. So, or I think also aspirant, yeah.
Is there a way for someone to find out if a company already has a worker council? Do you have to publicize? But I mean, I'm applying to some companies, and it's a bonus for me as a worker if it already has a worker council kind of thing. Is there a way to find out if you don't know anyone there already to make questions?
No,
They oftentimes will, you might not find out until after you're hired, but sometimes they'll promote it if it's a good works council. Also, if you join the tech workers group chat, you'll quickly figure out all the companies that are organized, because like 90% of them have been done through Tech Workers Coalition. And there's a lawyer who's compiling research on this as well, with a list of all the companies that have organized. I mean, I can just tell you roughly, it's like SumUp, HelloFresh, N26, ThoughtWorks, Contentful, SoundCloud.
Bubble? No?
I don't know about Babbel, actually. Maybe Babbel. Zalando, they're questionable, but Gropius, eBay Kleinanzeigen, it's Klarna, TikTok, Ableton, there's a few more.
Yeah, so actually in my previous company, there's a works council, but it's kind of, I have had a feeling it's organized from the top, because there's elections, but some even managers they did run, and then so they did it like, I was quite dubious about what they were doing. So I think there are many such very a bit dubious works councils as well. I think it's better to just asking the people who know where the workers coalition people. So, and that also I'm also curious if it would be helpful if there's a really good if there's a list of really good works council in somewhere in the website, or so yeah. I just wanted to share my experience, my previous workplace. So yeah.
There's one slide you say that you can ask the average salary of the opposite sex. I mean, who should I ask this? Because again, if you begin to be the guy who make questions, you raise the red flag for the company. So, and the other question, because one colleague of mine, he became my team lead. I asked for increase, and he said, no, I cannot say my salary, I cannot say the salary for the... But you said, I think there was one point that we have the right, so I didn't get this point. If you can tell me about this, the salary, to fight for our rights, if are getting low, or
so for the first one, you would think ask HR. That's why not many people ask it. Not using their legal right, but also telling their salary, it's fine. It's not problems that someone tells you their salary. Of course, they might have personal reasons not to say it, but there is no legal legal limitation for them to say it.
The contract cannot have something. My team lead, he said, "Oh, my contract said that I cannot see my salary."
It is illegal.
It's illegal. Okay, good to know. I have a bargain.
Maybe just a small note, 5 minutes, we have questions, and then we take a break.
Regarding to the same question, can I ask this in the interview whenever, when I have the discussion for the salary, or so can I ask this question, or?
To ask in the company itself?
Yeah, exactly.
You can, but it's just if you would want to ask. It depends.
I mean, if in the interview process, the expectations of the salary, how can I, argue about?
Okay, this one, I mean, you have the right to ask. But I think you're not employee. I don't know the details also of the law itself.
Mm-hmm.
It might be limiting also if you should be becoming a full-time employee or something. Because I don't know the exact details. Because you're also asking while you are interviewing. But there is also requirements that big companies with certain sizes, they have to report to the government, like also part of this law. They have to report like if there is like a gender gap between in the company itself, like what is the average basically. But I don't know, to be honest, like the details for this part. But getting also the average in general, like Glassdoor,
Yeah, I
like
mean,
these websites basically give you like.
honestly, I don't know if Glassdoor here is very transparent.
Yeah, no.
Yeah.
There is also like Kununu, I think. I don't fully the name, but there is also like a German website also. But it's mostly like, yeah, okay, Kununu.
Yeah.
Okay, I've got it right. Yeah, these websites like could give you, but they are, yeah, like because eventually if they want to remove any entries, they can remove it. It's not like something that is trustworthy. But there is something related to this part, an interesting experiment, and it was done by an Egyptian guy, and also it was in Egypt. And basically they collected independently average salary for people who are working in Egypt, and they eventually created like a live graph, and it gives like the average salaries in every company, people who are working remotely, not remotely, and they collected a lot of data, and they did like a huge project like against this part, and it helps like people also to argue about their salaries when they were applying for companies as well.
Yeah, but that's why actually I'm asking, because like whenever
Yeah.
I go to a process or the interview process, I'm asking. I've been asked about the expectations, and I don't know. I'm new to the country. I don't know. So
Yeah.
how I can argue about it? And Glassdoor, like I'm pretty sure is not here. It's not clear as Egypt. I'm pretty
Yeah.
sure of this. So yeah.
Some workarounds to this is like to reach out to actual employees on LinkedIn. It's a very good thing to do in general, or ex-employees, like people that recently resigned. It doesn't take much to do this research. This is also good practice in general. Another fun thing you can do if you are bored at work is to start an anonymous Excel file on Google Spreadsheet with like gender, role, and salary, and start circulating a bit through private chats, and until it's lost who is the initiator. Like you first share it with your.
It's gonna be a powerful one.
You say I received this and I'm forwarding it to you. So even if you're the first one, and more often than not, they don't retaliate against this because they cannot. They either retaliate against everybody, or obviously if it's a 10 people company, don't do it. But if it's hundreds of people, it's good practice. It's also a way, like every time it starts a lot of shitstorms in the company because they realize there's a lot of inequality.
Also to add something, if you ask like again with the Transparency Act, there is a protection against retaliation. Like if you ask, there is a protection against firing you because you asked. But of course, again, this is the theoretical part. We need to also stress this always, like it's always the theoretical part.
Yeah, I would like to add something in terms of like asking about the expectation and this stuff. Like I'm here since 5 years and I did a lot of interviews, and most probably like I'm throwing the ball in their side. So when they ask me like about my expectation, I'm like asking them again, or saying like I don't have like a salary expectation or a range. Like I have a range in my mind, but I would like to hear from you what would be the salary range for this position exactly, because like from position to another position it's totally different, from company to another company also totally different, and but they have like a salary range. So if the recruiter making like an interview with you and they would ask you like about the expectation, they already would like to know if your expectation in their range or not. So you can, as I mentioned, you can ask them about their range, and then you can give them you can tell them that okay, like this is my range, or like if it's not in your range, you can tell them as well. They want to be sure that your expectation in their range. So yeah, and most probably like 99% from the interviews I did, they answer my question. I didn't give them in the first place like an answer, or I didn't give them like a range or a value. I ask them, then they give me like a range, and then I am confirming that okay, this is my range.
Okay,
when you were talking about the time off, sick leave, and the part-time work, there's also something called the hamburger model. If you're time off, sick off for a while, and probably because of burnout, and you want to return to work, you can talk with your doctor to get a plan of the hamburger model. The doctor will know what that is, and that is a plan that the doctor will do with you, send to the health insurance, and the health insurance will send to the company, and they will eventually all sign off. But it's a plan where you can return to work in steps. So you can return 1 day a week, and then for 2 weeks, and then 2 days a week, and then 3 days a week, until you're back to full-time, whatever full-time you have.
Okay, that's good. We could also like add it on the slides. Yeah, by the way, like a small note, these slides are open source, so if you have ideas, you can share or put or commit for it. We would love these. All right, so I think we can have some break. Yeah, like 15 minutes, and we could come back if you would like to start like the second session with discussions. All right, yeah, 15 minutes and we'll be back.